Well, thanks for that introduction, Roxanne. Like Roxanne said, we covered a lot of information in the first two series, really introducing cybersecurity overall, letting you know the landscape, what how COVID impacts it, also letting you know some recovery strategies, some detection strategies. And this series specifically will be about the last steps of the NIST framework, which is recover, and then we will talk about a cyber attack in action and some methodologies that you can use to best implement those security mechanisms. As Roxanne mentioned, that if you did not get a chance to see the first two series, they will be on YouTube and on the MBDA website. Once you complete all three, you will get a certification from MBDA, which will be great for your insurance and your company overall. And then just for some housekeeping rules, if you could all cut off your cameras and go on mute just for the streaming to be most efficient. And I'll do the same. So going into it overall, as we mentioned, we went over the cybersecurity overview, the government frameworks for recommended small businesses, detecting threats, responding to attacks, and today it's about cyber attacking action and attack recovery methods. Series one really kind of went over the cybersecurity landscape, the importance of cybersecurity awareness for your team and your employees, the types of cybersecurity, the NIST government framework, which is very, very helpful. The Shield Act which is a New York regulated act that is very impactful for your business. The top type of cyber attacks, protecting the enterprise and government contractor requirements, which are normally in the RFPs, and certifications that separates your small business as far as being qualified for all the regulations needed. Series two was another overview of cybersecurity, more in-depth overview of the NIST framework, strategies to detect threats and protect, continuous monitoring, responding, and defense in depth, which is a mechanism that should be built into your enterprise overall. And today we will be going over cybersecurity overview, cybersecurity posture, why it's so important, the last step of the NIST framework, some cybersecurity best practices, cyber attack in action, cyber attack response planning, which is very critical, cyber attack recovery, which is that last step of the NIST framework, business continuity planning, and then the overview of the training of the three series. So in 2019, cybersecurity saw a massive issue for both technology and the general public. Between ransomware attacks, credit card fraud, and tsunami wave of new app releases, cybersecurity has never been more important for organizations. COVID-19 may have been rightly hogging the global headlines so far in 2020, but while the global lockdown may have been good news for online retailers and those able to work from home, it inevitably means that this is a very lucrative time for cyber criminals. Viruses, worms, trojans, and other malware may be very difficult to remove from your networks, especially if you do not have the proper knowledge and software tools on hand to do so. So technology really is a double-edged sword. It changed many aspects of modern civilization, from the way companies operate their businesses to the way people live their lives. And why is cybersecurity more important now than ever? Because cyber affects all people. Once your data is gone, it's gone. Once it's out there, you have to take many, many steps to get it recovered and to try to protect yourself from any further damage and or concerns. The fast changes in technology will cause cyber boom attacks, which everything changing in this, there's not enough cyber built and enough security built within these processes and within these applications. And that's why the government has really been pushing DevSecOps, which is development of security throughout operations. So everything will eventually have security built within it, but the technology all around us is inevitable that someone will find a way to get in it. And did you know that more than ever, 42% of the US labor is working from home? Securing internet and devices at home and work is very critical for PII and professional data for your organizations. And to improve your cybersecurity, you must be aware of the current cybersecurity threats that you're vulnerable to. be empowered to take action and proactive steps to prevent them, and be able to access resources when you need it to achieve cybersecurity success. Now we're back to the NIST framework. We have already discussed identify, protect, detect, respond, and today we will be going into depth about recover. And the NIST cybersecurity framework is a powerful asset for cybersecurity practitioners. Given the flexibility and adaptability, it is a very cost-effective way for organizations to approach cybersecurity and foster an enterprise conversation around cybersecurity risk and compliance. And these are the 5 steps: identify, protect, detect, respond, and recover. Recovering is develop and implement appropriate activities to maintain plans for resilience to restore any capability or service that was impaired due to a cybersecurity event. In light of an increasing number of cybersecurity events, organizations can improve resilience by ensuring that their risk management processes include comprehensive recovery planning. Identifying and prioritizing organization resources help guide an effective plan for a realistic test scenario. This is preparation and rapid recovery from incidents when they occur and helps to minimize the impact of an organization and its constituencies. Additionally, continually improving recovery planning by lessons learned in past events, including those of other organizations, helps to ensure the continuity of important mission functions. And this publication provides tactical and strategic guidance regarding planning, playbook developing, testing, and improvement of recovery planning. Recovery is very important once an attack happens, because like we know, it's inevitable, and having the right response and recovery to get your business back up and running is very important. And this section kind of goes into the emerging trends within cyber, the emerging trends with risk that we are not completely ready for as we modernize our infrastructures across the world. So with 5G, the cybersecurity is increasing and is driven by global connectivity and usage of cloud services like AWS and Google. And these services are normally used to store data and PII, which is personal information. Widespread poor configuration of cloud services paired with the increasingly sophisticated cyber criminals means that risk of your organization suffers from a successful attack or data breach, and this is on the rise. 5G cybersecurity needs some significant improvements to avoid growing risk of hacking. Some of the security worries are a result of a network itself, while others involve devices connecting to 5G. Both of these aspects put consumers, governments, and businesses at risk. And when it comes to 5G and cybersecurity, some of the main concerns are decentralized security, which is a pre-5G network that had fewer hardware traffic points of contact, which made it easier to do security checks and upkeep. But the 5G dynamic software-based system has far more traffic routing points. And to be completely secure, all of these need to be monitored. But with so many devices, that's hard to do. More bandwidth will strain security monitoring, which is another cybersecurity issue with 5G, the bandwidth. While current networks are limited in speed and capacity, this has actually helped providers monitor security in real time. So the benefits of an expanded 5G network might actually hurt cybersecurity, and that added speed and volume will change and challenge security teams to create new methods of stopping threats. Another concern is IoT. Many of these devices are manufactured with lack of security. As I stated, government is now mandating DevSecOps in certain agencies to make sure the security is now being developed throughout the software lifecycle. And the last is lack of encryption and early connection process. This means that when your device is connected, it reveals device info that can be used for device-specific targets. This information helps hackers know exactly what devices are connected to the network, such as your home cable system and that app that we talked about in the series 1, where you can see what devices are connected, their IP address, their device and serial number. This is that specific data that this 5G is going to have at risk. And with so many personal data being collected from 5G, 5G technology will mean high levels of security against breaches and data theft will be required. The next emerging trend is cloud computing. Cloud services are typically classified into a software as a service, platform as a service, and or infrastructure as a service, such as raw computer power or cloud storage. Businesses and governments are shifting more workload to the cloud. However, some of the organizations remain resistant to the cloud's considerable attractions due to lingering concerns about the data security in the cloud computing. And some of the main security risks of cloud computing are compliance violations, identity theft, malware infections and data breaches, and diminished customer trust and potential revenue loss.
Cloud computing is the on-demand delivery of IT resources via the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing. Instead of buying, owning, and maintaining physical data centers and servers, you can access technology services such as computing power, storage, and databases on an as-needed basis from a cloud provider like Amazon Web Services. Organizations of every type, size, and industry are using the cloud for a wide variety of use cases, such as data backup, disaster recovery, email, virtual desktops, software development and testing, big data analytics, and customer-facing web applications. For example, healthcare companies are using the cloud to develop more personalized treatments for patients. Financial services companies are using the cloud to power real-time fraud detection and prevention. And video game makers are using the cloud to deliver online games to millions of players around the world. With cloud computing, your business can become more agile, reduce costs, instantly scale, and deploy globally in minutes. Cloud computing gives you instant access to a broad range of technologies so you can innovate faster and build nearly anything you can imagine. From infrastructure services such as compute, storage, and databases, to Internet of Things, machine learning, data analytics, and much more. You can deploy technology services in a matter of minutes and get from idea to implementation several orders of magnitude faster than before. This gives you the freedom to experiment and test new ideas to differentiate customer experiences and transform your business, such as adding machine learning and intelligence to your applications in order to personalize experiences for your customers and improve their engagement. You don't need to make large upfront investments in hardware and overpay for capacity you don't use. Instead, you can trade capital expense for variable expense and only pay for IT as you consume it. With cloud computing, you access resources from the cloud in real time as they're needed. You can scale these resources up and down or shrink capacity instantly as your business needs change. Cloud computing also makes it easy to expand to new regions and deploy globally in minutes. For example, Amazon Web Services has infrastructure all over the world, so you're able to deploy your application in multiple physical locations in just a few clicks. Putting applications in closer proximity to end users reduces latency and improves their experience. No matter your location, size, or industry, the cloud frees you from managing infrastructure and data centers, so you can focus on what matters most to your business.
That was a pretty informative cloud computing video and the benefits that come with it. It's very interesting. Everyone is going to be on the cloud, but it's still a security risk for most organizations that do not have the knowledge and or bandwidth to invest in the correct security mechanisms to invest in the cloud properly. And just a reminder, you can drop questions in the chat throughout the series and they will be addressed. Here is the first poll coming up shortly. There we go. And
as we have done in the past, 30 seconds, and then you can answer. Still waiting on some people to answer. And here are the results. Julian, take it away.
Yep. So blank is the practice and precautions taken to protect valuable information from unauthorized access, recording, disclosure, and destruction. And the correct answer is network security. We had database security, information security, and physical security. And the next emerging cyber trend is AI implementation. All the government agencies and most people use AI without even realizing it. But now it's becoming more mandatory to make data-driven decisions faster and more efficient. There are definitely risks with AI, and some of the top risks are automation, because it will obviously take away some of the human element jobs that we really need, but people are resisting the adaptation to adopting to AI in the Google cloud and the cloud in general, simply because they're afraid that their job will be taken away. So you got to understand, some organizations have people who deliberately don't do their job correctly and or don't buy in because they're afraid that their job will be taken and they won't have anything else to do. Privacy violations is another huge risk. Algorithmic bias caused by bad data. So if the machines and the systems that are being fed the data aren't being fed the correct data with the right data integrity around it, the output won't be sufficient or functional use for anyone. So that's a huge element as well, because if there's one Excel spreadsheet that is automated with the wrong data, you're getting the wrong output and making a bad decision or the wrong decision based on AI making that decision for you. Socioeconomic inequality and weapons automation. As AI grows and gets more sophisticated, the voices warning against it in the current future and pitfalls grow louder. Whether it's the increasing automation of certain jobs, gender, and racial bias issues stemming from outdated information sources or autonomous weapons that operate without human oversight. That's a very big concern in the future. We don't have to worry about it as much right now, but in the years to come, this will be a very big concern associated with 5G. The next emerging cyber trend is Internet of Things, IoT, which we spoke about. And in general, however, IoT architecture contains at least a few following layers, such as sensor layer, a network layer, and application layer. Attacks can be broadly categorized as physical, network, software, or encryption attacks. And some of the biggest attacks that can happen to IoT devices are physical, network, software, and encryption. The biggest threats to businesses are the access to sensitive data. And one of the main challenges of IoT is that devices often record and have access to stream sensitive data. Security systems such as cameras, doorbells are increasingly a part of small business networks and can quickly create a major issue if hacked by a cyber criminal. Office equipment such as printers are also potential access points. A compromised printer can easily mean that the attacker can view everything that is printed or scanned in the office. That is major. Another concern is sabotage. And sabotaging is a hacked IoT device that will allow the hacker to utilize the device's functions. So a coffee maker might not allow an attacker to do anything more dangerous than brewing a latte. But a hacked heating system or machinery can create far more disruption to a business. And a bad actor can potentially hold a vehicle such as a Tesla and hold the occupants hostage or demand some type of payment to let them free. because of the 5G accessibility, the IoT, and the internet. These electronic cars will be a risk in the future, such as the example I just gave, someone taking over the steering, someone lock you in the car, someone take you to the wrong GPS location. These are all some of the security concerns with the Internet of Things.
The Internet of Things is changing much about the world we live in, from the way we drive to how we make purchases, and even how we get energy for our homes. Sophisticated sensors and chips are embedded in the physical things that surround us, each transmitting valuable data that lets us better understand how these things work and work together. But how exactly do all these devices share such large quantities of data? And how do we put that information to work? Whether we're improving the production of a factory, giving city residents real-time updates on where to park, or monitoring our personal health, it's the common Internet of Things platform that brings this diverse information together and provides the common language for the devices and apps to communicate with each other. This starts with the devices themselves, which securely communicate with an Internet of Things platform. This platform integrates the data from many devices and applies analytics to share the most valuable data with applications that address industry-specific needs. Let's start with a simple example, a car. After taking a long road trip, Rebecca notices that her check engine light has come on. She knows that she needs to have her car looked at by a mechanic, but is not sure whether it's something minor or something that needs immediate attention. As it turns out, the sensor that triggered Rebecca's check engine light monitors the pressure in her brake line. This sensor is one of many monitoring processes throughout the car, which are constantly communicating with each other. A component in the car called the diagnostic bus gathers the data from all these sensors, then passes it to a gateway in the car. The gateway integrates and sorts the data from the sensors. This way, only the most relevant diagnostic information will be transmitted to the manufacturer's platform. But before sending this organized data, the car's gateway and platform must first register with each other and confirm a secure communication. The platform is constantly gathering and storing thousands of bits of information from Rebecca's car and hundreds of thousands of cars like hers, building an historical record in a secure database. The manufacturer has added rules and logic to the platform. So when Rebecca's car sends a signal that her brake fluid has dropped below a recommended level, the platform triggers an alert in her car. The manufacturer also uses the platform to create and manage applications that solve specific issues. In this case, the manufacturer can deploy an application on the platform called the Asset Management System. This application oversees all of their customers' cars on the road, as well as all the parts in their warehouses. It uses the data from Rebecca's car to offer her a potential appointment time to service her car, directions to the nearest certified dealer, and a coupon for the service. What's more, the app will ensure that Rebecca's brakes are covered under her warranty, that the correct replacement part is ordered, and then sent to the dealership so it is ready when she arrives. But the manufacturer's analysis does not stop there. They have also deployed a continuous engineering application that tracks not only Rebecca's car, but hundreds of thousands of others, looking for ways to improve the design and manufacturing process of the car itself. If the same problem in her brake line crops up in a critical number of other cars, the manufacturer uses applications custom built for the automobile industry to pinpoint the exact problem. They can see if these cars were made at the same factory, used the same parts, or came off the assembly line on the same day. So what do all these pieces add up to? Streamlined inventory management for the dealer, a better, safer car from the manufacturer. And for Rebecca, it means she can be back on the road faster and get to where she's going safely. All thanks to the Internet of Things.
So that was an Internet of Things video, very encompassing. Hopefully, it's helping you be able to tie the emerging technologies together, so that you can see how impactful data is, how impactful 5G is and will be, how impactful this IoT accessibility from anywhere is. There's pros and cons with it. As you can see, for those manufacturers or those vehicles, they will benefit a lot from all that data, being able to get the customer to the right shop to get it fixed, getting the right part right out to her. So it's great, but we just have to make sure we wrap everything in security. This next portion we're going to will be cybersecurity importance. And it's very important. It is very important to create a habit of regularly monitoring and maintaining your cybersecurity posture, because cyber criminals are constantly finding ways to take advantage of weaknesses in companies' infrastructure. Adopting a more holistic approach that takes things like existing policies or systems, risk analysis program, workplace culture, and employee education into consideration is highly encouraged. Identifying all points of vulnerability will help an organization be proactive rather than reactive to cybersecurity threats. And some fundamental principles of cybersecurity are availability, integrity, and confidentiality. Today's organizations face an incredible responsibility when it comes to protecting data, whether it's an internal proprietary information or any type of data collected from customers, companies that could face substantial consequences in the event of a data breach. That's why we need to have the right security controls in place to guard against cyber attacks and insider threats, while also providing documented security and ensuring data availability at all times. These information security basics are generally the focus of an organization's information security policy. And here's the next poll. Remember,
Once again, I'll give 30 seconds for everybody to fill it out. We ask that everybody participate. Here are the results.
perfect. So poll two, from the options below, which of them is not a vulnerability to information security? We had flood without deleting data disposal of storage media, unchanged default password, and latest patches and updates are not done. Looks like 7 of us got it correct with flood. And flood comes under a natural disaster, which is a threat to any information and is not an act of vulnerability to any system. Now we're going to go into cybersecurity best practices. Nearly 4.5 billion, which is about 60% of the world's population, were actively online last year. There is no such thing as perfect security. Given the time, resources, and motivation, there is not a tech system in the world that cannot be hacked or exploited in some way. The key to implementing a defensive security protection is to reduce your threat risk by minimizing your attack potential. I'm not trying to scare anyone. I just want you to be aware of the risks, threats, and resources that are out there to help. And some of the best practices are protecting your data, avoiding pop ups and unknown emails and links, using strong password protection and authentication, secure Wi Fi, firewall protection, invest in security systems, up to date software, IT collab, third party security control, and employee training. Your company may have the best security software and most comprehensive office policies, but actions play a big part in helping keeping data safe. A single employee could make a mistake by sharing sensitive company information on their smartphone or clicking a corrupt link, and that could be a serious data breach. And some of the best small business protection strategies are training employees in security principles. Training is very critical, whether it's really in depth or whether it's just an overview. It's very critical because actions are going to keep you safe. Protect information computers and networks from cyber attacks. Provide firewall security for your internet connection. You want to create a mobile device action plan. Make backup copies of important business data and information. Control physical access to your computer and create a user account for each employee. So no shared accounts, don't save passwords, share passwords. Create a user account for each individual employee. You want to secure your Wi-Fi networks, make sure the settings are set correctly. And then you want to limit employee access to data and information. You want to have that right asset management, that right control figurations to that employee based on their role in the organization and the amount of data they have access to. And then you want to limit the authority to install software. So generally, you have to have an admin that lets you install any type of additional platform or software as a service when you're downloading stuff. So I'm sure a lot of us have ran into that where we try to download something it can't and we need an admin login. That is a great security mechanism for everyone to implement. And now we're going into the cyber attack and action section, which is very stressful to think about, but it's very simple to fix. It's very simple to prevent, and it's very simple while it's happening because you can only do so much. And a cyber attack is someone trying to gain illegal access to a computer system, network, or data. Attackers often want to disrupt, damage, or steal your data. And our reliance on technology exposes us to cyber threats that can impact our jobs, finances, health, and safety. Cyber threats are often hard to understand as these threats are not like physical threats, needing immediate action. Cyber dangers may include viruses wiping out an entire computer system, people breaking into a software system and changing files, or people using your computer or device to attack others. So an active attack, they are highly malicious in nature, often locking out users, destroying memory or files, or forcefully gaining access to a targeted system or network. And usually hackers that use active attacks are not really concerned with their activities being detected because by the time the attack is detected, the damage is already done and or underway. And the fun fact is there was a spike in cyber attacks in the direct correlation with pivotal days since COVID-19. For example, on January 30th, the day the US declared its first case of COVID-19, cyber attacks went up 48%.
Cybercrime is a global problem that's been dominating the news cycle. It poses a threat to individual security and an even bigger threat to large international companies, banks, and governments. Today's organized cybercrimes far outshadow lone hackers of the past. Now, large organized crime rings function like startups and often employ highly trained developers who are constantly innovating online attacks. Most companies have preventative security software to stop these types of attacks. But no matter how secure we are, cybercrime is going to happen. Meet Mia. She's the chief security officer for a company that makes a mobile app to help customers track and manage their finances. So security is a top priority. Mia's company has an incident response platform in place that automates the entire cybersecurity process. The IRP software integrates all the security and IT software needed to keep a large company like Mia's secure into a single dashboard and acts as a hub for the people, processes, and technology needed to respond to and contain cyber attacks. Let's see how this platform works in the case of a security breach. While Mia is on vacation, irregular activity occurs on her account. A user behavior analytics engine that monitors account activity recognizes the suspicious behavior involving late-night logins and an unusual amount of data being downloaded. This piece of software is the first signal that something is wrong. An alert is sent to the next piece of software in the chain, the Security Information and Event Management System. Now the IRP can orchestrate a chain of events that ultimately prevents the company from encountering a serious security disaster. The IRP connects to a user directory software that Mia's company uses, which immediately recognizes that the user account belongs to an executive who's on vacation. Next, the IRP sends the incident's IP address to a threat intelligence software, which identifies the address as a suspected malware server. As each piece of security software runs, the findings are recorded in the IRP's incident, which is already busy creating a set of instructions called a playbook for a security analyst to follow. The analyst then locks Mia's account and changes her passwords. By this time, the software has determined the attempted attack came from a well-known cybercrime organization using stolen credentials. Mia's credentials were stolen when the hackers found a vulnerability in her company's firewall software and used it to upload a malware-infected file. Now that we know how the attack happened, the analyst uses the IRP to identify the specific server vulnerability that allowed the attack, what other machines on the network are vulnerable, and the malware file. The IRP uses information from the endpoint tool to determine which machines need to be patched, recommends how to patch them, and then allows the analyst to push the patches to all the computers and mobile devices instantly. Meanwhile, Mia has to alert the legal department of the breach. The IRP instantly notifies the correct person of the situation and the status of the incident. After the attack is contained and Mia's account is secure, the analyst communicates which data may have been stolen or compromised during the incident. He identifies which geographies, jurisdictions, and regulatory agencies cover the users and information affected by the attack. Then the IRP creates a series of tasks so the organization can notify the affected parties and follow all relevant compliance and liability procedures. In the past, a security breach this large would have required Mia's company to involve several agencies and third parties to solve the problem, a process that could have taken months or longer. In a matter of hours, the incident response platform organized all of the people, processes, and technology to identify and contain the problem, find the source of the attack, fix the vulnerability, and notify all affected parties. And in the future, Mia and her team will be able to turn to cognitive security tools. These tools will read and learn from tens of thousands of trusted publications, blogs, and other sources of information. This knowledge will uncover new insights and patterns, anticipate, isolate, and minimize attacks as they happen, and immediately recommend actions for security professionals to take, keeping data safe and companies like Mia's out of the headlines.
So that was a very detailed cyber attack video for you to be able to see and understand each phase, how it plays out, the steps that are taken. And I think it's good for you to be able to see this and have this as a reference whenever you feel like you have some type of issue or need a quick data point. This video is very good and very informative to give you an overview of how a cyber attack works and how to respond and recover from it. And now we have the next poll.
Once again, everybody, about 30 seconds to participate. We ask that everyone answer the question, please. Also, Julian, we have a question in the chat. We'll address it after the poll.
Sounds good.
Okay, the poll is ended. Sharing the results.
So this poll was: the lack of access control policy is a bug, threat, vulnerability, or attack. Looks like 7 of us got the correct answer again, and that answer is vulnerability. And access control policies are incorporated to a security system for restricting of unauthorized access to any logical or physical system. Every security compliance program must need this as a fundamental component. Those systems which lack this feature result in a vulnerability. And what was that question, John?
The question in the chat is from Reagan Branch. She asks, does a small business not dealing with legal or financial needs need to do a network? What does that look like?
Could you repeat that?
It says, does a small business not dealing with legal or financial needs to a network, what does that look like? Maybe we can ask Ms. Branch for some clarification.
Yeah, that would be great. I'm not understanding the question totally, so I want to make sure. Could you clarify? You can come off mute if it's easier.
It's so do we need to have build a network? Like I know that so my I have colleagues that are CPA, and so they have like this really secure network with emails and so on that like everything is sent secured.
Mhm.
I just have like a laptop. Is there a need for me to have like some more elaborate system in
Got
place?
Gotcha. Thanks for that clarity. So yes, in my opinion, yes, such as a VPN or just going in and simply making sure you have visibility to your network that you're connected to. So your laptop is connected to an overarching network. Maybe it's your house's Wi-Fi connection router or your employer's building or wherever you're connected to is definitely a network. So putting in a two-factor authentication such as a VPN so that you can browse freely on a private network where some random person in Russia can ping your device based on you being on a public Wi-Fi like at the airport. So with the CPA dealing with very sensitive and financial information, then yes, they definitely have to connect to a VPN and definitely have to make sure that they have restricted access to the network. Is there
Thank you,
any?
Julian.
Oh, no problem.
Um,
Hopefully that
a-
answered your question.
again, all questions are welcomed in the chat. So I see that there's another one, and I think that one will be answered later on.
I see it. It said, "What's a VPN?" So it's a virtual private network. So it's kind of used like an app where you sign in and it gives you your own private browsing mode, kind of similar to the browsing mode on an Apple device where you can go in private or any mobile device where you can go in private mode. Um, you can't be tracked as easily that way. And your hotspot is, I use my phone hotspot. No, that's actually a secure because that's just you personally into that specific hotspot, logging into that specific hotspot, but that's your device is still connected to a wireless network to some extent once you because your phone has to be connected to connect to Wi-Fi and to connect to your hotspot. So it's a more secure way to browse if you have your personal hotspot versus logging into a public Wi-Fi. And the next section, well, we're still in the active cyber attack section, but this slide is about the immediate actions you can take once you get attacked or notification that you're under attack. You want to disable remote access. You want to change passwords, all passwords that you can. You want to install any security update or patch. So I know a lot of us don't turn our computers off on a daily basis, and there's always a security update waiting to be updated majority of the time. Personally, I've seen organizations have to manually go in and remote into a laptop because that employee did not put their security update in. And that same employee could cause a major breach to their organization because a breach could have already happened somewhere else. So making sure you have the latest function and the latest security updated patch is important. You want to maintain your firewalls. So whether it's internal or outsourced, you want to make sure that they're keeping you up to date and keeping your organization secure. And then disconnecting your internet. So if you realize something's going on, you see someone active on your page or on your device, disconnect from the Wi-Fi, turn the device off. Those are the immediate actions you can take. And these immediate actions can slow down the damage of the attack. But again, once you notice there's an attack, generally they're already doing what they need to do because you didn't find them soon enough. And these are the immediate steps to take once you realize you're under cyber attack. So you want to identify the threat. And it's important to understand the extent of the attack and the nature and origin of the attack. And what if any strategies can be employed to limit the severity and consequences to the attack. So in series 2, we talked about the IDS system, which is the intrusion detection system. This is critical because this should identify the threat, where it's coming from, what system it's touched, how long it's been happening. So having the right platform and the right security mechanisms are very important. And for small businesses, you don't have to have the most robust, expensive IDS system. You can get one that fits within your budget, just as long as you get notified when there's something going on your network. Next, you want to neutralize the attack. And that limits the effect of a cybersecurity attack by quarantining that attack as much as possible while working to neutralize it. So that's basically isolating the attack, detaching all systems, programs, applications from where that attack sits and lives so that it cannot spread. Next, you want to review your systems, and an audit of your computer system, including connected devices, are required. This will assist in determining how the system will be reestablished and what steps need to be taken to reduce further risk. So again, that's seeing which device, which product is infected so that it's not infecting others. So if it needs to be shut off, you need to make sure you review your infrastructure, review your enterprise first before allowing that device to be activated and put back onto the network. Next, you want to restore and rectify your infrastructure. So ensuring that you have a safe and secure infrastructure is essential in recovering from a cyber attack, and its previous vulnerability should be eliminated. And that's what kind of ties into review. You want to review and you want to restore. So once you review and you know that it's sufficient, then you can restore knowing that that patch is updated, that vulnerability is gone, and now you should be able to move forward in your day and your business process. Next, you want to recover your data. So you want to put your data back into the system, and it needs to be done carefully to avoid any reinfection. So reviewing and rectifying is very important before you recover your data, before you do another upload, before you do any kind of backdropping any information. You want to make sure that you're good to go, that you have a new security policy in place, that you have a new security breach notification, that you have all in bases covered to make sure that it's okay to resume to business. And last, you want to test and resume operations. So before the system is brought back fully online and reconnected to the network, thorough testing of the system should be taken and underway. And you need to make sure that all systems are functioning properly and the cyber threat has been neutralized. So in series 2, we talked about a lot of different tools that can be used, and doing those active testing is very important before you resume normal business operations. And these steps are so critical. And why are they so critical? So first, you want to assess the situation. You want to make sure this is a real attack and not just one of your servers having a meltdown or being overheated or overworked. And if you determine that it is not that, you need to have all hands on deck. You need to call everyone in the organization that can help identify the source and destination of the compromise. Is it a virus? Is it a worm? Is it some kind of script kiddie? Is it some kind of malware attack? Is it Russia actually in your system? So you want to look at the logs, and if logging isn't enabled, you need to turn it on immediately. You'll need these logs as you recover from any cyber attack. Next, you want to minimize the damage. And this can include implementing firewall rules to block the offending traffic. And this is where your IDS system just paid for itself, and you see the benefit of it. And if you notify your internet service provider to block the offender from further upstream and deciding whether to block or monitor the intruder's activity. In this situation, it is necessary to take the system offline in order to mitigate the possibility of the threat spreading deeper. So sometimes when there is an active cyber attack, clients actually allow the attack to go on to see what that particular hacker is looking for, whether they're seeking to take, so that their next policy can be better, their asset management can be better, and they know how to store and maneuver in the future. So depending on the severity of that particular server or database that the hacker's on, sometimes they let the attack go on just to see what happens if there's no sensitive data or any PII there that can get them badly sued or fined. Then you want to kind of see what the hackers are aiming for, and it helps you be stronger in the future. And then last, You want to gather forensic data. And this includes getting a snapshot of the server at the time of the attack and the backup. And in some cases, you want to notify law enforcement so that they can do the same. Your documentation should include your network topology drawings, any recent system additions, the identity of personnel working on the affected systems, and relevant communication that may pertain to the affected systems underway. So basically, the topology aspect is you having a full layout of all of your systems, all of your devices from a 10,000 levels view, just overviewing what everything is and kind of how everything connects to each other. And now it's the next poll.
Once again, 30 seconds. We ask that everybody please participate. One more second. And the poll is finished. Here are the results.
Blank ensures the integrity and security of data that are passing over a network. Firewall, antivirus, pen testing tools, and network security protocols. It looks like 3 of us got it correct, which is network security protocols. The methods and processes in securing network data from unauthorized content extraction are controlled by network security protocols. And now we're going to talk about how we can fight cyber attacks. And most business leaders think or should think about being proactive and preventative when thinking of cybersecurity. And you want to act with fast communications. You want to isolate infected machines, and you want to document and understand the effects before attempting to fix them, which we just discussed. And then you want to report an attack to the authorities too. The FBI has described criminal cyber attacks as being within its purview. Informing federal law enforcement can help ensure more organizations around the country do not also fall victim, especially when the attack is far-reaching.
So you've just seen something strange. Perhaps the logs on your VPN server show a user who's sitting right next to you has also just logged in from Hong Kong. Or someone on your customer service team notes that they can see an accounting file that no one should have access to. Something strange has definitely happened. Is that strange thing a cyber incident? How do you decide, and what do you need to do in case you decide that it is? Just about anything from discovering malware to identifying suspicious user activity could be legally defined as a cyber incident under HIPAA security regulations. So how do you know when it's time to implement a full incident response plan? The correct answer is that it's always time to implement your incident response plan. Let's go over the key elements of an incident response plan and important things to consider when you think you may have been the target of a cyber attack. Incident response is typically broken down into 6 phases: preparation, identification, containment, eradication, recovery, and lessons learned. Most organizations mainly focus on containment, eradication, and recovery, and completely skip lessons learned. But the truth is, this last phase is potentially one of the most important. Preparation. Preparation is as straightforward as making sure you have a trained incident response team, either employed, on retainer, or at least someone's business card so you know who to call. Identification. An incident is initially identified in any number of ways, leading you to start your response plan with only slight awareness of what the incident may be. The identification phase is meant to clear this part up. This phase also includes the investigation of the depth of the compromise, its source, and its success or failure. Identification is done through review of log files. Lots and lots, and sometimes lots and lots and lots of log files. The important consideration at this point is not to disrupt any potential evidence of the incident. A well-trained and equipped response team will be able to rapidly parse log files, review forensic images, and do so without damaging any evidence in the process. Containment. Containment often happens concurrently with identification or immediately following. Damaged systems are removed from production, devices are isolated, compromised accounts are locked down. The bleeding stops here. Eradication. Eradication is exactly what it sounds like, removing and remediating any damage discovered in the identification phase. This is normally done by restoring systems from backup and re-imaging workstation systems. It's important to note that proper eradication of a cyber infection should be done by trained professionals and should only be done after comprehensive investigation to the incident is completed. Time and time again, small organizations will be quick to delete, restore, and re-image after the first sign of an incident, before they've learned how the attacker got in or how much damage was really done. In many cases, when systems are reset so quickly, the organization has no way of going back to learn what happened and, as a result, are often hit by the same type of attack again and again. Recovery. Recovery is the testing of the fixes in the eradication phase and the transition back to normal operations. Vulnerabilities are remediated, compromised accounts have passwords changed or removed altogether and replaced with more secure methods of access. Functionality is tested and day-to-day business resumes. Lessons learned. The last phase is one that many organizations skip, but it's arguably the most important to prevent future incidents. Lessons learned involve reviewing the steps that were taken during each phase and improving both your incident response capability and your security footprint. If you rush to get back up and running but never stop to consider the implications of what caused the security incident, you may never improve your cybersecurity standing. Whether it was human error, security holes, or a flaw in a security product, your organization should review what went wrong and use the incident as a stepping stone to work towards a solution. Without this stage, you may find yourself running back through these steps again and again with every subsequent preventable incident. What now? Incident responses are best performed by persons trained and equipped for it, with proven processes and full support from leadership within the business. In addition, with the advent of cyber insurance, it's becoming more and more common for a full response to be required before settlement can be made.
So this is an incident response video. I know it's not as fun as learning about the type of cyber attacks, because now we're talking about what happens once a cyber attack is successful. This is a very informative video. It's very informative on the steps and why each step is important and how it all ties together. Now we're going to go into the section of the importance of having an incident response plan and a cyber attack response plan. When reputation, revenue, and customer trust is at stake, it is critical that an organization can identify and respond to security incidents and events. Whether it's a breach, and if it's small or large, organizations need to have an incident response plan in place to mitigate the risk of being a victim of the latest cyber attack. Incident response strategies and plans lay out what defines a breach, roles and responsibility of the security team, tools for managing the breach, steps that will need to be taken to address the security incident, how the incident will be investigated and communicated, and notification requirements of an event. And we have the next poll.
Once again, you will have 30 seconds to answer the questions. We ask that everyone please participate. 10 more seconds. And the poll is now finished. Here are the results.
Blank is a set of conventions and rules set for communicating two or more devices residing in the same network. Security policies, protocols, wireless network, and network algorithms. Looks like 5 of us got it correct with protocols. And network protocols are designed with mechanisms for identifying devices and making connections between them. In addition, some proper rules are defined as to how data packets will be sent and received. And we're going into the benefits of cyber response planning. The key to an incident response plan is that it is orderly, systematic, and well thought out. There is no doubt that security incidents against organizations are here to stay. And sooner than later, we'll all have to live up to the fact that careful planning and preparation is one of the best strategies to handle a security incident. Not only does the incident response planning prepare you to better face security incidents with confidence, but it also helps your organization mitigate damage to your operations, strengthen relationships with your stakeholders, improve your interdepartmental communications, and eventually make you stronger to face potential cyber attacks going forward. And you want to mitigate potential damage after a security incident. So to break down an incident response plan that outlines concrete mitigation and remediation steps can help organizations mitigate the negative impact of a security incident that may have confidentiality, integrity, and availability of their critical assets. Organizations of all sizes must take the necessary steps to prepare for the worst case scenarios and be ready to respond quickly in the event of a cyber attack. One of the most common mistakes organizations make is not regularly screening its systems for malware and vulnerabilities. This action is imperative as it can catch and prevent attacks early. And when a breach does occur, a company can suffer far less reputational damage if it demonstrates the regular audits and they can prove that they were carried out and sensible plans were ready in place to communicate with customers at its earliest possible convenience. Next poll.
Once again, everybody, about 30 seconds. Fifteen seconds. And poll complete. Sharing the results.
Blank is a set of conventions and rules set for communicating two or more devices residing in the same network. Security officer, malicious hacker, security auditor, or network analyst. The correct answer is security auditor. Maintain the trust relationship with your stakeholders. This is another important step in the RRP, in the incident response plan, and it should include a recommended timeline for communications, pre-drafted messages from executive management that can be customized according to the nature of the incident, and definitions on authorized personnel to handle communications with employees, customers, and the media. And there's normally steps to take, such as triage, inform, manage, and rehearse. So you want to make sure that you're prepared as best as possible in case of an event. Next, you want to improve your communication between different departments. And communication is key. As mentioned earlier, a cyber attack can have the effect across your organization, cause other teams to work together that do not normally work together. And that is critical for long-term success. And organizations need to maintain and encourage open communications before and after a cyber event. Fortunately, a cyber event has to happen first in a lot of these cases in order to get the team to work in sync. So a response plan in a nutshell, as we watch very instructive videos, and they should definitely have steps in organizations such as discover, assess, analyze, and execute. And there is no doubt that security incidents against organizations are here to stay. And sooner than later, we'll need to live up to the fact that careful planning and preparation is one of the best strategies to handle security incidents, being proactive rather than reactive. Hit the next poll.
Once again, about 30 seconds. And the poll is over. Sharing the results.
VPN is the abbreviation of Visual Private Network, Virtual Protocol Network, Virtual Private Network, and Virtual Protocol Networking. Looks like 5 of us got it correct with Virtual Private Network. A virtual private network is a technique used in networking or in other intermediate networks for connecting computers and making them isolated to remote computer networks. And you want to they maintain internal security for security and privacy. And here's a future of cybersecurity video and what the predictions look like it will be in the near future.
We live in the most complex world. 7 billion people connected like never before. We receive and send 128.8 billion business emails daily. Look at the people around you. We send over 41 million mobile messages a minute. Our devices are connected, over 26 billion of them. When everything is connected, everything is at risk. As of today, 2/3 of the global online population have had their personal information stolen or compromised. And every 14 seconds, a business experiences a ransomware attack. The very technologies that drive our growth are being used to attack us from the shadows. Goods, money, and ideas move at unimaginable speed. Yet our economy, our society, and our future prosperity are exposed to threats from an unprecedented hidden menace in our midst. Cyber threats. These threats emerge from secretive actors who seek to damage our businesses, steal our data, endanger the safety of our future generations, breach our perimeters, and as the physical becomes digital, put entire infrastructures and economic orders at risk. 1 year from now, cyber threats will cost the world $6 trillion annually. That's almost 7% of the global GDP. We have witnessed attacks on government institutions and transport infrastructures and on oil facilities all over the world. Businesses and healthcare providers from east to west have become victims of cyber threats. These attacks, whether initiated by individuals or highly organized criminals, are now increasingly automated. They are dangerous. They are persistent in the face of our best efforts to combat them. Yet, there is hope. There are opportunities. In the next 5 years, the global cybersecurity market is projected to reach $258.99 billion. By 2021, there will be 3.5 million unfilled positions in the cybersecurity industry, up more than threefold from 2014. As we witness exponential growth in cybersecurity, we can boldly address the new frontier. Through investment and risk management, we can drive growth, strengthen trust, and generate more competitive advantages. Governments can bolster their defensive shields by sharing information and driving global collaboration from which we can all benefit. We all share one cyber world. From cyber culture, its ecosystem, the people, and the society behind it. From safeguarding our children, developing talent, and empowering women, to cyber disruption driven by new technologies. Through international collaboration and greater sharing of information, to ever more sophisticated cyber threats and the resultant enhanced resilience through the critical safeguarding of infrastructure.
So that was a very informative future of cybersecurity video with a lot of statistics that show you how big the market is, how innovative these hackers are, and how important security is. And now we're going to get into the cyber attack recovery. And once a cyber attack has occurred, you need to have a policy in place to immediately begin recovery. Cyber attacks have four main effects. In the aftermath, most businesses will see a reduction in their operational abilities, downtime, reputation, and revenue. After a cyber attack, about 39% of companies reported a decrease in operational capability as their leading complaint. Downtime came in a second of 37% of businesses reporting that its primary effect on their company. Effects on the operation and downtime ultimately result in a loss in profit. It's reported that about 44% of companies estimate that they could lose over $10,000 with $10,000 within just 1 hour of downtime. For small businesses, that can really impact the financial gain, the profits, and the operational ability to continue business. Cyber attack recovery. Recovering from a cybersecurity incident can be a daunting experience, especially if you've lost information that's critical to running your organization. But you can limit the damage to your company and your reputation by developing a solid recovery plan in advance. And a fun fact, 67% of data breaches resulted from credential theft, human error, or social attacks. Okay, we're back at the next poll. I think we have 3 remaining.
That is correct. This is 8 of 10. We can get everyone to answer this one in about another 25 seconds. And the poll has ended.
VPNs uses encryption techniques to maintain security and privacy, which communicating remotely via public network. True or false? Looks like 7 of us got that correct at true. And all VPNs are formed with combination of tunneling protocols as well as encryption techniques for maintaining privacy and security. Cyber attack recovery, and as it has become increasingly pervasive, nearly every organization has become highly dependent upon IT and delivery of services. Recovering from normal operations for these services after a cyber event is not a binary activity. Organizations must understand how to be resilient and planning how to operate in a diminished capacity overstir services, overbase services relative to the priorities. And you do not want to wait for a disaster to happen. You need to be proactive now. You need to make sure that you're implementing the right security protocols suggested. You need to implement the correct incident response planning. You need to prepare for the worst. And that just helps you be prepared for any type of attack because there will be one at some point. And many small businesses may not see the importance of a disaster recovery plan until it's too late. That's why it's so imperative to be proactive. You want to protect your business at all costs. You want to make sure that the recovery plan has a clear owner, somewhere that's maintaining the processes, maintaining the updates, making sure that everything continues to flow naturally and is continuously updating. You want to involve as many partners across the business. You want to make sure that it's simple to execute by having realistic goals and strategies. And you want to leverage a comprehensive multi-layered approach. So you do not want to have a recovery plan that's focused on just one system, one database, one server. You want to have a holistic approach for your entire enterprise to make sure that your business is continuing operations and maintaining that profit growth. And it is regularly practiced and continuously updated. That is one of the most critical, important parts of a disaster recovery plan. As we're in a new environment, as you saw in the future of cyber attack videos, that data is very accurate, it's very true, and it probably will be even higher as time goes on with 5G and IoT and the risk continuously being so high. And a fun fact is NARA reports that 93% of companies that experience data loss and downtime extended for 10 or more days will file for bankruptcy within 1 year. In addition to that, 43% of companies that do not have a disaster recovery plan will go out of business in the aftermath of a major data loss. So it's very, very critical to be prepared for the worst. Nine out of 10 polls, so we have two more.
Once again, we'll give about 30 seconds, and we request that everybody participate. Thank you. Five seconds. And poll is complete. Sharing results.
Known exploits have a confirmation of and measures can be taken against it to resolve them. True or false? It looks like 9 of us got this one correct at true. Known exploits have a confirmation of and measures can be taken against to resolve them. These type of vulnerabilities and exploit details are available online in blogs and in sites. Disaster recovery benefits. There's many benefits that come from being prepared and being proactive. The first is limiting the losses due to revenue reduction or other costs. You want to minimize the interruption of the critical processes and safeguard business operations. You want to make sure that you have the least impact on performance as possible. You do not want the cyber attack, the hacker, the virus, the worm, to be able to completely take out your business. So having a good, accurate data backup, having a good recovery system, such as a different platform that you can use in case something happens, kind of like a generator in a house. If your power goes out, you want to find a way, if you can, to have a source of power, whether it's just candles, whether it's a fire. You just want to make sure that you can keep living. And that's the same thing with your systems. You want them to keep operating. You want to keep the money flowing. You want to define a simplified process of an action to face unexpected situations and predict a controlled resume to operations. So as we mentioned, as you heard, as you know, there will be infiltrations on your network, but being able to simplify that and attacking that and handling it as appropriate as possible so that your business can continue to run. You want to rectify your infrastructure. So you want to alter your infrastructure and correct it with any leaks, any vulnerabilities, and all the tools suggested within this training will help you have a good understanding of what to look for and how to formulate how your network should be set up and what tools you could use to find out certain information. And you can control your own disaster recovery plan. That's the best part. You can do what you want to do with it. You can customize it however you would like. Being able to have insight and vision and not being cut off by a third party vendor that do not involve you in the process, involve you in what the output would be. That's important because at least you know, as a business owner or being a part of a business staff, you know what's happening, you know what the backups will be, you know where to go for certain information, and you know what happens if something does happen. And that's very important and very much so a benefit of having a customized disaster recovery plan. And some examples of what's included in a successful disaster recovery plan is you want to set clear objectives. You want the primary motive to develop a successful disaster recovery plan is to reduce downtime and the cost of data loss. You want to set key objectives with recovery time objectives, meaning you want to make sure that if this system does go down, this is how long it can be down before it affects everything else in my operation. You want to document the network infrastructure, which is a step-by-step guide on network configurations that will help the execution of data recovery process. So a holistic blueprint of the current network infrastructure and enterprise, it lets you rebuild the recovery of the entire system. And the detailed documentation increases the chances of a successful reconstruction of the corrupted infrastructure. And the data recovery technique. There are many different data recovery solutions such as hard drive recovery, RAID recovery, tape recovery, optical recovery, and data backup. Selecting the right one for your organization is critical, which is the customized aspect. To choose one of these solutions, you want to consider the requirements of the organization's on-premise, outsourced, and cloud-based disaster recovery as a service. So that's the holistic view of the whole enterprise and understanding what can affect what if this system goes down, what employees infected, what data is at risk. Having that holistic view is a benefit. You want to make sure that the incident criteria checklist is up to date. So you want to create an all-inclusive checklist for identifying a disaster that will help the recovery team to execute the disaster recovery plan as quickly as possible. Obviously, it will differ for each organization depending on their goals and budget for data recovery. Even the decision to strictly follow this checklist or not is entirely up to you. Document disaster recovery procedure. After successful identification of a disaster recovery incident, a documented set of procedures will help carry out the disaster recovery strategy. And it should be in accordance with the established RTO and RPO standards. It's important at the end of the disaster recovery procedure that all recovered data should be in an operational state. And that's making sure that you can get up and running as soon as possible. And then you want to test and update your plan and make that a frequent habit. And you want your DRP can fall flat if not tested regularly. Disasters are unavoidable, and having the disaster recovery plan that helps limit potential damage, getting back to operational mode quickly, and lower the damage of cost. And if you need help with building the correct plan or don't know where to start, there are many consultants that can help. There are many agencies that you should also talk to in order to make sure that you have some type of backup plan or strategy if the worst does happen. I know we don't like to think that we will get hacked or we don't have enough important information, but your personal information alone is enough to know that you need to make sure that you're secure. So if you're secure, your organization should be secure.
Recovery in 60 seconds. Disaster recovery, or DR, is a plan of action for keeping your web app online and your business running when a terrible scenario occurs. Whether you host an e-commerce shop, some investor info, or customer accounts, you need to protect your organization and your website from negative events. That's why DR matters, truly. Let's briefly go over 2 common DR services for web apps. First, backups. Always have backups. If you have a website, please go and check that your backups are working after this video, or right now. Just make sure they are working. We recommend storing your backups off-site, meaning at an alternative location, and that backups should be taken at least daily for DR purposes. The second DR technology is replication. With file and database replication tech, a near real-time mirror of your site can be set up. Each time data is changed at the primary location, the change is copied or replicated to a secondary server. If a disaster ever occurs, you can use this replicated version of your server to recover your site. We love this tech because of its flexibility and its power. Protect your business, get back online faster, and sleep well at night.
So that's just a quick video over disaster recovery, how it's beneficial and what it does. Just in case you don't understand how I explained it, this video should be able to help. Just for you to get an oversight of what it is. And it's just preparing for the worst, making sure you have a good backup. If you're an iPhone user, I know some people are Android users, not sure what their platform is to back up data, but you know, the iCloud is a source that can be used for an example of what happens if you lose your phone, your data backed up. You can go get a new phone and have that same data uploaded within minutes. So that's just an example of what your organization should be functioning like, is having that separate data somewhere else to make sure that you can be operational at all times. We're at the last poll.
Once again, we give 30 seconds. About another 10 seconds. And poll is complete. Sharing results.
Known bugs can be solved or removed by blank developed by the vendors of the application. Removing the application, changing the software, installing patches, installing database patches. The correct answer is installing security patches, and it looked like 6 of us got that correct. So good job. And known bugs and vulnerabilities of a system can be solved or installing or updated by the security patches developed by the vendor or owner of that particular application, which is critical because if you have a Windows computer or a MacBook, you will get an automated update, or your mobile devices, as well, your smart devices. They have a lot of patches that they include in each update. And if you really go and take the time to read the update and the patches within the general settings, you can actually see what patches they're upgrading, what they're doing to fix it, how they're making the device better. That should be the same for your organization with the security mechanisms. With your team, you should have that dialogue with the vendor who's doing the work for you to understand, hey, what's going on? What's being patched? How long was that patch needed? And what will you see as being the next patch needed to protect my enterprise? So those are just some questions you could ask to make sure that your service provider is taking care of you. Business continuity planning. Whether you're a small business or work for a large business, business continuity planning will help you respond faster when disruption strikes and minimize the negative impact on your business. And this is all a part of the recovery phase of a cyber attack. A business continuity plan details processes and procedures that will help keep operations up and running or restore them as quickly as possible in the event a major disaster happens, whether it be physically or technology-wise. Reporting an attack to the authorities matter. It really matters because it helps everyone around you get better. It helps every organization understand what risks are out there, what the emerging trends are that was not on the internet or that I didn't tell you about or that any other training did not tell you about. Because as we know, we're in a very innovative world. We're in a pandemic right now. Cyber attacks will grow. As we saw on the first day of the pandemic, it went up 48% for cyber attack attempts. And it's going to continue to grow as we're going back in phase one in certain states. People want to still work from home. Kids are going to work from home. So there's so many risks that are associated with this. And being able to keep your business up and running when an attack or when an event does happen is so, so critical. Business continuity planning guide, and it should include and it be comprehensive. So it should be very overarching. It should be very realistic. It should be very efficient and adaptable. So the business continuity plan that you create today should not look like the one that you create in May of 2021. Things will be different. Things will change. There will be new risks. There will be new threats. You want to make sure that whoever writes it has an understanding of what you want your company to respond to and what phases you can be in operational ability. So if you're at 65% capacity now due to COVID, you had to release some employees, you should have that same approach when it comes to making sure your business is secure and you don't need every system up and running. And some of the benefits of business continuity planning are maintaining your business operations, build customer confidence, protect your brand and reputation, and you want to mitigate financial risk. And all of these are very critical because maintaining your business operation, that's maintaining your profit, your revenue. That's making sure that your customer is getting satisfied and getting their business that they're paying you for whatever service you're providing. Also, protecting your brand is important because right now, if your brand is doing great and you're providing a much needed service, your business can go up incredibly a lot during COVID. But if you get a bad review, you have a mistake that happens and it gets out there, that could ruin your company. So just being understanding of how to make sure you can respond and bounce back quickly from any type of incident will be important. And that is what we covered today in series 3, encompassing the recovery stage of the NIST framework and also a cyber attack in action and some of the immediate threats and or planning that you should take. So we discovered cybersecurity posture, cybersecurity best practices, emerging cyber trends, a cyber attack in action, cyber attack response planning, cyber attack recovery, and business continuity planning. Now, all of these are very correlated, especially in the response aspect, because they sound like the same plan, but they're very different. And having those plans intact for your organization will help you be prepared and future-proofed for these cyber trends that are emerging. And the overview of the series. So MBDA Comprehensive COVID Cyber Training Awareness Training was targeted to enhance security awareness and inform best practices pre and post COVID-19. These recommendations should help secure your organization and have a robust, efficient enterprise. So in series 1, I provided an in-depth overview of cybersecurity factors that are critical in the current COVID environment. This session highlighted good practices and government recommended frameworks that can help protect your enterprise. And we also talked about the top type of cyber attacks and some strategies you can take to avoid clicking those links for phishing emails, malware attacks, worms, viruses, and more. Series 2 focused on providing strategies and solutions for detecting and responding to a cyber threat or attack. Being able to detect a cyber threat is critical in the longevity in a compliant and secure organization. Adequately responding and preventing the breach from happening or getting further will save data and financial risk. So I told you about a lot of tools in series 2, a lot of tools that can help identify threats, identify attacks, stop attacks, and also tools that can help you test your own organization, which is very much so needed to identify any vulnerabilities that you could prevent moving forward. And today, I elaborated on cyber trends and solutions that are important to know. Cyber attacks in action and cyber attacks in recovery are the focus areas for Series 3. And I also recommended some action plans and remediations of incidents. The attacks will happen. Having the correct recovery strategy will very much so strengthen your posture. And I wanted to thank you all today for attending the series. Again, if you did not attend Series 1 or 2, it will be on the MBDA website and YouTube channel. This is an overview of this series for this COVID-19 training for MBDA, which covered cybersecurity overview, government frameworks, detecting threats, responding to attacks, cyber attack in action, and the attack recovery. Now, I'm available for questions outside of this training, for additional questions about this training, and I also offer consulting, guidance. I also offer services as well for your small business. So please feel free to reach out to me or MBDA directly for any further advice and or consulting services. So I want to thank you all for attending this 3-part series. Hopefully attend all 3 so you can get your certificate that helps your cyber insurance, that helps you gain more knowledge and look better for your customers and your clients. Thank you very much.
Julian, thank you so much for that informative series. Once again, if you had missed any part of the 3-part series, the MBDA does have a YouTube channel that will have that, and we will follow up with links to those 3 separate training sessions. Now, in order to close us out, I ask our director, Roxanne, to say a few words.
I thank you so much for presenting such a technical material in an easy to understand and accessible manner. That is extremely difficult to do because this is an area of expertise that very few small business owners will have a depth in.